for a newsletter or registering on the site. So within analytics, you can track up to 20 goals per profile, and my advice is always to use up all 20 goals. Often marketers say, oh, the goal of the website is just to sell. But actually, as people visit your website more and more often, they're not always going to buy. So you want to track these other engagement goals as well. So perhaps a goal is, are they spending more than 5 minutes on my site? Are they visiting more than 3 pages? Are they signing up to be a member? Do they click on that Facebook like button? Do they tweet about me? These are all things you can put into the tool. And why is it important to do that? It's because when you start to look at reports like this, so on this report here, for a website, it's googlestore.com, where we sell a lot of Google merchandise. We can get a report like this that shows us where in the world our traffic is coming from. So this is all good. We can see, all right, most of our visitors are coming from the United States, Brazil, and the UK. But it doesn't really tell me anything. I really want to know, are these visitors meaningful to me, right? So up the top here, we see our goals, where we've defined our goals. So I can click on a particular goal tab there. And now I get more context or more meaning to my numbers, because now I can order these list of countries based on who actually made a purchase on my website. So what you'll notice, on the previous slide, we had Brazil as our second largest volume of traffic to our website. So that might have caused us a jump and start to leverage the Brazilian traffic more. But now when we come to this report, we have some meaning to those numbers. And you see Brazil doesn't even make it into our top 10 in terms of countries that are actually converting for us or making purchases. So then that leads to insights, right? So when we start to talk about your web analytics platform, stop thinking about it as a tool that just creates pretty graphs that you can put on a presentation deck and take it in front of your management. You actually need to start becoming a detective, right? Here are the numbers. Start to drill down. Figure out what's going right for our business. How do we take advantage of that? Figure out what's not doing so well for our business. How do we plug those leaks? So if it was me here, for example, I would ask the question, why are we not getting any sales from Brazil if it's our second largest volume of traffic? And if you visit Google Store, it becomes very simple. There's all the content's in English. Nothing's localized for Portuguese, Brazilian. We don't offer very cheap shipping to Brazil. So I would take that back and I say, create some Brazilian Portuguese content and start offering shipping to Brazil for cheap. And the great thing when you define these goals is you can also define a funnel that goes with it. So the funnel is actually all the steps you would see a user taking to reach the goal. So often we spend a lot of effort just to get people to the top of the funnel. So in this example, it's to get them checking out from the shopping cart. So we spend a lot of effort to convince them our products are great, you should be buying it, then they get to the shopping cart. And using a funnel report like this, we can see which parts of our shopping cart actually failing us and be able to go back and take action there. So my second piece of advice when I say, first off, build your goals or define your goals. The second thing is to define the funnels that go with the goals so that you actually know where you're losing interest, where you're losing attention, and you can go back and plug those leaks. If somebody doesn't want to log in or create an account for a shopping cart, why don't you remove that altogether? So here's an interesting topic about measuring the impact of offline campaigns on your sites. So often the misconception is when we do something offline, we can't actually measure what's happening online in relation to it. That's actually a bit of a fallacy. We can make creative use of our tools to see what's going on. So the first thing you can do is actually go view your traffic graphs and see when have there been spikes in traffic. Has that correlated with some offline campaigns that we've been doing? But I really love this feature in Google Analytics called Intelligence Alerts. So I'm not going to try and pronounce the Bahasa version. I'm sure I'll embarrass myself. But we call it Intelligence Alerts. And what it does is it actually tells you what has changed significantly in your data in the last 24 hours or so. Right? So before, we actually had to spend a lot of time to be able to get this information. If I asked an analyst, can you tell me what's changed significantly in the last 24 hours across all my data, it actually takes about 2 weeks to get that information back. And in internet years, 2 weeks might as well be a couple of years. You've lost the advantage, you've lost the insight. So with a tool like Intelligence Alerts, it can tell you what's changed overnight and even give you a breakdown of what's happened there. So if you've been running some offline campaigns, if you've been running a print campaign, a TV campaign, and you're expecting to see a lift from traffic, using Intelligence Alerts, you'd be able to see that. Analytics will tell you, hey, you know what? There's this unexpected rise in traffic from Canada. So analytics isn't intelligent enough yet to tell you why that happened, but that's your job as the analyst then to break it down and figure out why did we get that increase in traffic from Canada. So at the end of the day, a feature like this saves you 2 weeks and allows you to start taking action straight away. The other great thing you should be doing internally as you start to run these campaigns is to make use of the annotations feature and to start sharing this information with the rest of the organization. So I know GroupM in Singapore, for example, do this with Silk Air and ESPN a lot. As they run these different campaigns, they annotate it within Google Analytics. So it's like leaving a little note for everybody who accesses your account. And so sometimes, the webmaster doesn't know what the marketing team's doing, or the digital guy doesn't know what the print guy's doing. But sometimes they'll see these spikes in traffic and they're trying to figure out, hey, what's going on? So by leaving these notes, you can share that knowledge collectively within your organization. Everybody who logs in gets to see it. And then if you do notice a sudden rise in traffic, you can look up your annotations to figure out, hey, did somebody else in the organization or did our agency do something to help increase? And you increase the visibility of these efforts within. How about tracking non-Google campaigns, or basically campaigns that you may think, hey, we can't track that in Google Analytics. So I'm talking about like email campaigns, print campaigns, radio campaigns, etc. How do you actually get that recognized within Google Analytics? So I'm not going to go over the technical details here, but the short version is you can actually tag your landing page links with certain tags that Google Analytics can read and recognize and then report in your reports. So let's take an example of a print campaign, okay? So let's say you have a full page ad there for your online promotion that you're running. You can set up a vanity URL. So essentially it's a URL you'd expect somebody to type in. So hopefully something memorable, easy to remember, easy to search for, or easy to type in directly into your browser. Now, when they go to that part of your site, or they go to that URL, your server can just redirect them to this other URL. You add all these other tags onto the end there. And don't worry about the technical details. The payoff really is that when you log into Google Analytics can now associate this visitor with that full page ad that you ran in the papers and even tell you, what edition or what campaign it is. And so now, not only can we start having accountability for our online campaigns, we can also start having accountability for our offline campaigns as well. I was in Tokyo last week and I saw something really interesting. A lot of billboards, lots of signs as you walk past. They're very heavy on usage of the QR codes. And I noticed it on a lot of the billboards. I actually scanned one and it took me to the site with all these tags on the end, which was really cool, I thought, because now they can actually get accountability for how well those billboards are performing for them. And if they're really smart, they create a unique QR code for the different locations that they place these billboards at. So then within Google Analytics itself, they can see how effective is each one of my billboards for driving traffic to my online channels. So let me take you also through a few quick examples of using analytics to measure search, measure digital, display, mobile, and so on. So if you're advertising on Google AdWords, the nice thing is Google Analytics, Google AdWords, all within the same family, so they speak to each other really well. So you get a lot of rich insights about your Google AdWords traffic within Google Analytics itself. So a lot of stuff there about, hey, how unique visitors, time on site, conversion rates, and so on. So I want to show you an example of how marketers are using this information to really optimize their search traffic. So one of the first things, one of the examples where you can use this is actually tracking, measuring bounce rates, and taking action on that. So let me define what a bounce rate is, or a bounce is. A bounce is essentially a single page visit.